Good morning, Mr. Simon.
Morning.
Now, in 2015, your business was struggling, correct?
I wouldn't say it was struggling, no. In fact, it was on the uptick.
Before you started advertising for the Chasen game, your business was in fact struggling, isn't that right?
No, I very much enjoyed owning an ice cream parlor. I would not call it a struggle.
Financially, your business was struggling, wasn't it, before Chasen? You began to advertise those games?
I was paying my bills. I'm not a
Mr.
greedy
Simon,
person.
is it your testimony today that your business was not struggling before you started advertising Chasen?
It's my testimony that I'm not a greedy person and I was paying my bills.
One moment, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Simon, you gave a deposition prior to this trial today, didn't you?
I did at one point, yes.
And you agreed to tell the truth.
I did not agree to lie, no.
And you signed this deposition transcript after you were able to review it, isn't that right?
I did.
So you were given an opportunity to change anything you may have disagreed with?
If I answered incorrectly, then yeah, I would have changed it.
Your Honor, may I approach? I'm approaching with your deposition transcript.
Okay.
First, I'd like to just verify this is your signature on this document. Is that your signature right there?
It is.
Okay. I'm going to read out loud.
Okay.
I'd like you to just follow along as I read and make sure I read this correctly. I'm starting on.
You're gonna have to hold it closer.
Okay. I'm just going to direct you as to where I'm starting, and then I'll bring it closer.
Okay.
Line 20 right there. See that? Where the camera's working?
Which line 20? Which page?
Sorry, I'm on the wrong page.
Okay.
So right here, page 24,
Okay.
line 22. That's the question. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to read until page 25, line 5.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm going to read aloud, and you read along silently as I read aloud.
You want me to read along silently?
Yeah, as I read aloud,
Okay.
so the jury can hear me, and you can make sure I'm reading this correctly. Okay?
So I'm gonna tell you if you're reading it right.
After I get done reading it, you can tell me if I misspoke. Okay? Line 22, question. You said you were having trouble with new competition at the shop. Can you tell me some more about that? The next page, your answer. This is your answer. Well, when Steve's opened, it was something new. So a lot of my customers wanted to try it out. Some came back, a lot didn't. How did you respond? Question. Your answer. I tried everything. 2-for-1 sales, discount clubs, advertising, nothing was working. But when Chasen came out, I saw a real opportunity.
Okay.
So, as we just indicated in that deposition that you took, you had some competition now, correct?
Well, you asked me if my business was struggling, and I don't think I ever said that.
Okay, but you did have competition, isn't that true?
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, any business would have competition, otherwise you'd have a monopoly.
Well, you didn't have competition before when you started this business, isn't that right? Steve's, in fact, opened up recently, but after you had opened up your shop, isn't that right? And you acknowledged in this deposition that this competition, you lost customers, isn't that right?
Which question do you want me to answer?
All of them.
You're gonna have to step back so that way I know which one to answer.
Okay, so you had competition that opened up Steve's, isn't that right?
Yes, they did open up another ice cream parlor.
And that was after you had opened up yours.
Yes, that's correct.
And according to that deposition that I just brought up to you,
Uh-huh.
you lost a lot, your word, a lot of customers to Steve's, isn't that right?
Sure, I mean, that happens. People who live closer to there will go there, and people who live closer to me will come to me. I mean, it's an ice cream parlor. It's not like a Michelin star restaurant.
Okay. And you lost a lot of competition. You lost a lot of business, I mean.
I lost some business, but I was still doing well.
Okay. And you started doing different things to try to rejuvenate what you were doing, isn't that right?
Sure, it's just like a car dealership. You know, a bunch of them open up, but they all do well together. So,
Of course.
but
Of course.
we
So
have
you
some
try.
promotions.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mr. Simon. But none of these things you were doing before Chasen were helping get back those losses, isn't that right?
You know what? Some things work, some things don't. It's business.
And then you found Chase him, isn't that right?
Well, I didn't find Chase 'em. Chase 'em just started.
You became interested in Chase him and making it a part of what you do at Scooters, isn't that right?
You know, that's a tough way of putting it. It was more of like there was an opportunity, and I started taking advantage of that opportunity, just like any business person would. It wasn't immoral and it wasn't illegal, so it seemed to be a good thing for everyone to do.
So you took advantage of Chase him by advertising that you could play the game at your restaurant, isn't that right?
Well, I don't have any control over Chase 'em. There's an entirely different company out there that has full control over Chase 'em. All I knew was that they put one of their sort of geolocation spots on my property. And so if somebody wanted to play, they'd have to come to my property. And so I just said, if you want to play, my store is one of the places that you can play.
And you said that by advertising that you could play the game at your place, isn't that right?
I didn't really put out like mailers or anything like that. It was just that if somebody was at the store, they would see a sign that said that they could play there. And that way I could also control who was able to play, because if I put mailers out, then you know it would have people come in. But if I just did it while they're at the store, then at closing time we could kick them out.
So in short, you advertised Chase 'em in the sense that it could be played at your ice cream parlor, yes or no?
I'd prefer if you didn't truncate my answers, because of course. I mean,
Well, Mr. Simon, I'm asking yes or no questions, and you're going off on a tangent with the jury. I just would like a yes or no answer.
You know, when I came on the stand, I wasn't told that it had to be yes or no. So I'm just trying to answer your questions.
Okay. So you advertised, yes or no, you advertised Chase 'em.
I can't answer it yes or no, because
Okay.
the advertisement has
One
a lot
moment,
of
Your Honor.
implications.
May I approach the witness? Showing them exhibit 1.
Has been entered.
I'm assuming it has.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I mean, we're in the
Yeah, that's true.
latter half of the case. Mr. Simon, this is your ad, correct?
No, there's 2 pages to my ad.
Okay, well, this is a half of your ad.
So we're only gonna use half of
Right now, we're only
my
using,
sign?
yes, only for right now.
Oh, okay.
Because
Well, then
this
this is one half of my sign,
is
yes.
one half of your sign,
Yeah,
and in this ad, that's the name of your restaurant, correct? Your ice cream parlor, correct?
yes.
And here it says, need, and correct me if I'm wrong, need Chase 'em monsters, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. We got 'em. Scooters is now a Chase place, isn't that true?
That's what it says there, yes.
Okay. So narrative aside, Mr. Simon, you advertised Scooters to have Chase monsters and to be a Chase place, isn't that true?
I did put up a sign in my restaurant, yes.
And people responded to this sign by coming and playing at your ice cream parlor, isn't that right?
I don't know what you mean by that.
People, you saw an influx in foot traffic within your ice cream parlor as a result after this sign was published.
Well, I don't know if it was a result of that sign. I just know that there's a correlation between the number of people that came and the time I put that up. I mean, I didn't do a survey to find out if they came because of the sign.
And Mr. Simon, you gave a deposition, as we said, for this trial,
Yes, that's correct.
and you promised to tell the truth,
Yes, that's correct.
and you're able to change anything on this, as we have already gone over?
I don't think I was allowed to change everything on it.
Anything I said, if something was wrong, incorrect, it was mistyped,
If
you're
it
able to change it,
So like
correct?
typos I could change, yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Well, you could make some, I'm not gonna get into that. Again, I'm going to read out loud, and I'd like you to read silently along with me, okay?
Okay. Do you want me to just look at, is it on the back?
I'm gonna show you right now.
Oh, okay.
Question,
Where am I looking?
line 14,
Okay.
and I'm gonna read until 18. Question, yep, right here. Question, Did you advertise your shop as a chase place? Answer, I did.
Mhm.
Since it was right outside the shop, and because you could catch chase monsters, I advertised scooters as being a chase place.
Mhm.
Then the attorney says, question, how did this affect your business? And your answer, more people came and profits went up.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, Mr. Simon,
Mhm.
you saw an increase in profits as a result of your advertisement.
During that period of time, I did increase profits, yes.
Okay. And it
I
was
don't know why
your,
that's a bad thing.
it was your decision to put that advertisement up, correct?
Well, yeah, it's my business.
Yeah. And no one else's.
Well, who else would have that decision?
Exactly, Mr. Simon. And you didn't decide to put any indication as to when you could stop playing scooters, stop playing chase them at scooters, isn't that right?
I don't know what you mean by that.
So on the advertisement, this one right here, that's an exhibit here in trial today.
Okay.
There's no indication, and I can pull out the other one if you'd like, of a time where you could stop playing this game that you advertised, isn't that right?
You said you're gonna pull the other one up too?
I can do that.
Okay.
You're showing witness Exhibit C. Your Honor, may I approach? He's handing you,
You're handing it to me?
yes, you can hold on to it and take a look at it. And look up at me when you're done
Uh-huh.
and make sure you got an understanding of what's on those advertisements that you created.
Okay.
Okay, is there anywhere on those exhibits that indicate when you can stop or when you are to stop playing chasing?
Well, I don't have control over Chasen, but I put these up inside of my store because it was obvious that if the signs were only in my store, then when I kick people out at the end of the day, they have to leave my property. But I mean, they could be across the street and still play the game.
Do you personally kick people off your property when it closes?
Well, I'm a business owner, so I have employees who do that for me, just
Okay.
like any other business. I mean, the owner of Best Buy doesn't kick people out of the store when it's time to stop buying TVs.
That's fair. That's a fair statement, Mr. Simon. Just to be clear, and we'll move on from these advertisements.
Uh-huh.
There's nowhere on there that it says that on your property that you own and you maintain
Uh-huh.
that you must stop playing chase 'em at a certain time.
I don't have control over Chasen at all. I don't.
But you do advertise that you can play it on your property, correct?
I advertised you could play it in the store, that's where these signs were.
Okay. May I retrieve the documents, Your Honor?
10 o'clock. Oh, okay.
Let's now talk to you about the maintenance of your property.
I keep my property well maintained.
Yeah, because you have certain responsibilities, isn't that true?
I don't know what you mean by that.
As a business owner, owning property and being the person who was brought here today as a result of somebody getting hurt on your property, you take on certain responsibilities with this role,
Well,
correct?
I was brought here because that kid doesn't pay attention. He's one of those millennials.
However, you have to answer for it, isn't that true? Objection, character evidence, move to strike.
No, I don't have to take responsibility for it. He's responsible for himself.
So you don't take any responsibilities with your business? None.
I take some responsibilities, but you're gonna have to be specific what you mean. If
You
you're
have
talking
to
about-
make sure that your place of business is safe, for example, isn't that right?
Sure, we keep it clean and we have certain safety precautions.
Yeah, you take reasonable measures to ensure that it's safe.
Thank you for saying that. We do take reasonable measures. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And as more people come, as we've indicated earlier in this conversation, as you saw influx, it's reasonable to expect an increased risk of somebody getting injured on your property. Isn't that right?
You know, people bump into each other, they might fall over, you know, things like that you could expect. Yeah, I mean, you know, when there's a lot more people inside the store, you know, they might slip and fall, things like that. I mean, those are the kind of things that I could expect. But I mean, some mugger coming over because some kid's not paying attention at night, I can't expect that. I mean, nobody can expect that.
Mr. Simon, you were not present on the night that Bobby Daly was assaulted on your property, were you?
No, I was having dinner with my family.
And you left an employee there to close the place by herself, isn't that right?
Just like she had every other night.
Okay. And this employee was 17 years old, isn't that right?
I mean, I like to take care of the kids in the community, and She's 17 years old. She needed a job. I was willing to give her one.
And so just to be clear, you had a minor closing your ice cream parlor down at 10 p.m. at night.
Just
Isn't that
like
right?
every other ice cream parlor and donut shop in Steelton.
Mr. Simon, is it your testimony today that every other ice cream shop and donut shop in Steelton is closed by a 17-year-old by herself?
They're all closed by young kids. I mean, nobody over the age of 18 is going to be working in an ice cream shop at night. They're going to be doing some other kind of job, or going to college or something like that.
Mr. Simon, this 17-year-old minor who you had closing your ice cream parlor was a foreign exchange student, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a tough kid. I mean, she was from Russia. She like survived.
Mr. Simon,
or something like
Mr.
that.
Simon, I asked
She was
you,
pretty
I guess,
impressive.
I asked you a yes/no question.
Uh-huh.
The 17-year-old closing your ice cream parlor
Yeah.
the night of the incident
Uh huh.
was a foreign exchange student, yes or no?
Yeah, she was a tough kid. She was
Okay.
a really good kid.
And she didn't speak English very well, did she?
No, she spoke pretty well. In fact, I'm pretty sure she gave like a deposition. She answered all the questions. I mean, she didn't go into Russian once during that whole thing.
Again, Mr. Simon,
Mm-hmm.
I'm approaching with the witness's deposition. Your Honor, may I approach? I'm again bringing you your deposition, that you swore to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. You signed it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Here in your deposition,
Am I supposed to be looking at
I'm going to point to you to line 15. That is the attorney asking you a question, and then lines
Uh-huh.
16, 17, and 18
Okay.
are your.
Should I focus on the line?
You should just listen, follow along silently as I read aloud. Line 15, question. And didn't you have an employee in the store at the time of the incident? Answer. Your response. Who? You mean Christy Filotinova,
Oh, yeah.
the Russian exchange student?
Mm-hmm.
Other than not having the best grasp on English,
Mhm.
she did not have access to the office. Nobody did except me and my spouse.
Uh-huh.
Now,
I mean, she wasn't Shakespeare.
Mr. Simon, isn't it true that that the employee that you had closing that night didn't speak very good English?
She spoke
As
well
you
enough.
said as you said in your testimony.
She didn't have the best grasp, but then you know
Okay.
what? I've met some people from the South that don't have the best grasp of English either.
Now, Mr. Simon, now that we've established that you had a minor who didn't speak very good English as the only employee present closing your restaurant, let's now talk to you about some of the training that you gave to this employee.
I mean,
Now,
are
hold-
we going to be working
Mr.
off
Simon?
Wait, hold on. Are we working off the premise that she doesn't speak good English? Because I didn't agree to that.
You said it in your. No, Mr. Simon.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask the questions and you follow. If you have an issue,
Well,
you just let me know.
I was just
Okay.
working off the premise of the question. I just wanted to make sure.
This employee was there all alone, correct?
When?
When she closed the restaurant on June 6, 2015.
No, there were
around
still
10 p.m.
customers there.
And she had asked them to go outside. Isn't that right?
Well, she wasn't alone. There were customers there.
At 10 p.m. when
Uh-huh.
the place closed.
Yeah.
So is it your testimony today that she let people stay on the property after close?
No, I'm saying you asked if she was all alone at 10 p.m. No, there were customers at 10. She asked them to leave.
Was she the only employee?
Oh, yeah, she was the only employee. Yeah.
And then eventually the place emptied. Isn't that right?
Yeah, she told them to leave. The
Okay.
only one that didn't was him.
Because your employee told him to go stand in the parking lot. Isn't that right?
No, she told him to leave.
She told him to go stand in the
leave,
parking lot.
And then
Isn't
she
that right?
told him to leave. And then she told him to leave. And I'm getting all. I think she did it 5 times. Told him to leave. Told him to leave. Told him to leave. Told him to leave. And then for some reason he stayed. And then he went and hid in the dark so that we
Mr.
couldn't see
Simon.
him anymore.
You had over 100 customers that night. Isn't that true?
Yeah, because I mean, at one point I think there were about 100 people there.
Many of which were playing this chasing game that you advertised. Isn't that right?
I would imagine some of them were. Yeah.
And the plaintiff was one of those customers that was playing chasing. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Mr. Bailey, you installed some cameras on your property. Isn't that right?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, permission to set up a demonstrative. Now, Mr. Simon, this is a diagram of your property, isn't that right? Looks familiar?
Yes.
And the two cameras that you just said that you had installed are here, one,
Mm-hmm.
and then here, two, correct?
There's some inside the store too.
Okay. The outdoor ones that can see the outside, the parking lot, sidewalk, etc.
Are those two?
There's
yes.
only two.
Yeah.
And these cameras are pointing toward the parking lot, isn't that correct?
Well, sure.
And would you agree, strike that, these are the only two cameras that you have outside your property, correct?
That's correct.
And you would agree that if you were standing right here, you couldn't really see the cameras, could you?
If I was standing right there.
You were standing right here with this nice Exodus.
Uh-huh. I mean, I would have to maybe see a photo from that angle or something like that, but I know that you could probably see the cameras that are inside the store.
Mr. Simon, if these cameras
Uh-huh.
are pointing in that direction,
Uh-huh.
somebody standing right here would not be in the path of those cameras, isn't that true?
The cameras wouldn't be recording somebody standing.
I'm not asking about recording, Mr. Simon, I'm asking about whether or not somebody standing right here with this Exodus
Uh-huh.
would be able to see these cameras in the direction they're pointing.
I'm not sure, but you could certainly see the cameras that are inside the store.
So through the walls,
There's
you'd
a
be able to see
door
them.
right there. There's a door right there that you can see inside the store.
And those cameras are on all night inside the store?
Oh, yeah.
Is your testimony today, Mr. Simon, that the cameras inside your restaurant are on 24 hours a day?
The cameras inside were on, yes. The ones outside, they weren't working, and I had to call in to have them fixed.
You also had, oh, yeah. You, Mr. Simon, you also had installed lights on this property, correct? These
I
6
did.
lights right here,
I installed those lights myself, yes.
marked L, correct?
Yeah,
And these lights lit up the parking lot pretty well, right?
they lit it up really well. In fact, they lit it up so well that the light would actually spill onto the sidewalk. I'm sure that the guy across the street was benefiting from my lights.
Now, Mr. Simon, there's no lights on your sidewalk here, is there?
There are lights there.
You
The
have-
city installs them.
Is it your testimony today? Oh, this is exhausting. Is it your testimony today that the city installed lights on your sidewalk?
It's not my sidewalk, it's the city sidewalk. They have installed
But
them.
Mr. Simon, you in fact have insurance for this sidewalk, isn't that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if somebody has a slip and fall on the sidewalk, that's my responsibility.
So you claim some ownership in this sidewalk, isn't that right?
No, I don't claim any ownership, but by law,
Mr.
I
Simon,
have to have
Mr. Simon.
insurance.
You have insurance for the sidewalk, and you also have shoveled that sidewalk, isn't that true?
Like anybody who has a house, you know that the sidewalk that's right next to you, you don't own it. In fact, you gotta get a permit if you wanna cut down the tree on the sidewalk. But you still have to have insurance if there's a slip and fall.
Mr. Simon, those sidewalk lights were not working the night that Bobby Daly was assaulted, were they?
I don't know that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Next.
Next victim. I think, are these yours, Kristen? Okay, I'll leave them right here.